Hikaru Nakamura's Bong cloud system with e4, e5, and then king e2 put me in mind of an old variation of the King's Gambit that I used to play. So f4, e takes f4, and now instead of knight f3, knight c3. So the idea is to discourage the break d5. And now the only way to really refute this move is to play queen h4 check, which more or less forces the king to e2. There we go. There's the similarity with the Bong cloud. Of course, this one isn't so bad for white because you're going to play knight f3 and drive the queen away and gain some time. But then again, your king is rather stuck in the middle. But I used to play this in my wild years, my wild teenage years, and I had incredible success with this. It really confuses people. Here, I think d5 anyway is the principal move, giving up a pawn just to get quick development. But many of my opponents used to play, for example, d6, and then, well, you gain time against the queen and play d4. Sometimes you can play even king d3 in these positions, sometimes king f2, but here that's already quite interesting for white. Some people just go straight back with queen d8. This was actually played in the game between Kasparov and Karyakin in a blitz game. And, well, quite a few strong players play this. Magnus Carlsen plays this occasionally in online blitz. This was one of the first games with this was played by the famous Irish player James Mason in 1878 to be precise. I'm going to show you a game between Spassky and Furman. Now, Spassky was 22 when he played this game in 1959 in the Soviet Championship semi-final tournament. This is serious business, and Furman, very respected player, very respected trainer actually, trainer of Geller and Karpov. So, serious classical game. Let's see. Furman played d5, so this is the principal move to try and open up the position as quickly as possible while white's king is still in the middle. Knight takes d5. And here that original game between Mason and Rosenthal, Paris 1878, went bishop g4 check, and then knight a6 to defend the c7 pawn. In fact, quite a few games have gone knight c6 and just giving up that rook in the corner. That's a very interesting line. In fact, white is okay there, but okay, that's another story. Richard Rapport has played in that way with white. That's, yeah, another daring player. But bishop d6 is a very sensible move, protecting c7 and protecting the pawn on f4. Knight f3 and bishop g4 pinning. And here d4 is reasonable. And now knight c6. So this is a position that's been tested on quite a few occasions actually. And here e5 obviously puts a big question to black because white just wants to win material. If that bishop moves, then knight takes c7. And that's the move that Spassky played. It's probably not the best move actually. c3 has subsequently been played on quite a few occasions. And that's certainly not bad for white because the king is going to step to d3. So castles and king d3 is actually reasonably secure. The king finds a decent home there and can step back to c2 at some point. But that pawn chain actually offers the king decent protection. Let's go back. So anyway, e5 is obviously critical, but it's probably a bit loose. And here Furman played the best move, castle's queenside. If that is taken, that's a disaster because black is going to break through in the middle after c4, knight f6. allows rook number 2 into the game. And once this knight is exchanged off, then the d4 pawn is going to collapse, and that is absolutely fatal for the king. So white has to be restrained in this position and play, well, something else. I once played c4 here, actually, just to protect that knight, and it's not a bad move. I actually got quite a decent position against Glenn Fleer, who later went on to become one of England's grandmasters. That game was eventually drawn. c4's okay. It's about the same as bishop takes f4, actually. It's a bit dodgy for white, but it's very interesting. Knight e7, good move. Threatening the knight. So basically black just wants to get rid of that knight and attack the pawn on d4. So c4. And here, knight f5 was played by Furman, which is a good move. Bishop b4 is actually the recommended move. And it's very strong. It's just about breaking through to d4. If a3, then you can take here and you get through to d4, and black is winning that position. I mean, white can try other things, but bishop b4 is certainly a strong move. Knight f5 is also decent, but it's a bit trickier. So this is how the game went. Knight f5. Pawn takes bishop on d6, so white is now a piece up. Well, perhaps you'd like to think, how would you play in this position? Black to play. The move that Furman selected, I'm afraid, wasn't good enough. Here, the best move is knight c takes d4. And then to take on f3. And this is also not completely obvious, but the best move is c6 here. And, well, after a very tricky sequence of moves, black should be better there, but certainly not obvious. Furman played knight f takes d4, which also looks reasonable, because in this way this diagonal is open. But now the king has moved, then knight takes queen is possible, so the queen has to move back, which still looks terrifying for white, with this king staggering around in the middle of the board. But actually after bishop e2, this holds white's position together for long enough. Knight e6, so that hits the bishop, which came back. And, well, Bernard Kafty, who wrote a book on Spassky's games, said here that Furman was already in time trouble. Well, it is a complicated game. I think Spassky's choice of opening was probably very good against Furman, who was known as quite a strategic, logical player, but this is just complete chaos. Pawn takes pawn. And now Spassky's next move I find absolutely hilarious. If I were white here, I would be wanting to just nudge my king to the side, get it off a light square. Hopefully, play b3 and king b2. Spassky played here pawn to b4. That's outrageous. In fact, it's not an attacking move. It's preventing black's knight coming into c5. But still, I just think that's a fantastic idea. And in fact, it does also make room for the king to step to the queen side as well. I mean, one thing about this king on d3 is that it's actually cleared the back rank, and so you can see that white's major pieces are connected. I do like connected rooks. So that is one positive about having this king staggering around in the middle. Black played rook e8. Rook e1, there you go, the rook can come to the middle. Knight c7, in fact the king is pretty secure. King c3 feels much nicer now on a dark square, it has to be said. Queen h6. Queen c1, of course a queen exchange will be very nice for white, considering that he's a piece up. Knight takes d5. Pawn takes knight. Rook e3 check, still looks scary. But bishop d3 is solid. Queen f6 check. King c2. Here's a nice moment, because this looks like it's going to be a strong move. Knight takes b4, but in fact, after knight takes b4, king b3 is check. Nice touch from Spassky. And after king b8, then queen takes e3, and white wins even more material. Let's come back. King c2 just played. Rook takes rook on e1. Bishop takes e1. Covers b4. Nice. Bishop takes. Pawn takes knight on c6. Bishop c6. Bishop c3. And now you can see that white is consolidating the extra piece. And there are two beautiful bishops here. White king. Very safe behind that cluster of pieces. Queen h4. Of course, black doesn't want to exchange pieces. And here's a cheeky move from Spassky. He's a piece up, and he just takes time out to grab a pawn. But actually, why not? Because black has nothing here. King b8, g3, queen g4, bishop f6. Good square for the bishop. Rook c1. Spassky brings the rook into play and just wants to exchange pieces. Rook e8. And here Spassky played b5, just shutting the bishop out of the game and threatening to play rook c4 with a double attack on the queen and bishop. And here, well, as Cafferty wrote, black lost on time with 10 moves still to make. Yeah, that opening system completely shocked Furman. And a nice victory for Boris Spassky. So there we go. Yeah, if you're interested in a nice little sideline in the King's Gambit, I would actually recommend knight c3. As I said, I had great success with this in my wild years. If you're interested in investigating the King's Gambit more, then do check out my two DVDs, PowerPlay 2728. You'll see the link in the description. And also, I've just published a course on Chessable. So do check out the link to that as well. It's called How Good Is Your Chess? And you can test yourself over 15 games. So check out that on the Chessable platform. Thanks for watching.